Hello, everyone. Welcome
He-
back to.
hello, Majid. Hello, Martina. Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone.
Good. Uh,
We
I'm, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see that? The first slide?
yes. Welcome everyone to this session. Flutter Engage Extended Nordic. We are very happy to go live. We are getting together. So Summit will talk about all the groups that made this event happen. But before that, let me mention one thing, which is a regular and normal things that we usually mention before any event, and that's code of conduct. So the only thing that you should do, it's very simple. It's respect each other and behave well. And that's what we are expecting. And I'm 100% sure all of us will do. So let's not keep you waited. And Somit, please go ahead and let everyone knows who we are and what we are going to do.
Sure, Majid. We are very excited, and I think so are you guys, to see what we are going to bring today. Uh, this is Flutter Engage Extended, and we in Nordics all got together to bring you guys amazing content. So GTG Copenhagen, Aalborg, Oslo, Sweden, Bergen, everywhere. We've tried to bring everyone together from the Nordics region, and then we will talk about starting with Majid. Then we will have Chris coming in around 6:30. There will be some interesting activities for you this evening, and then we have an amazing panel for discussion. So over to you, Majid. Can you start talking about what was announced? I think it was something to do with Flutter 2.0. Majid?
Sorry, I was muted. Absolutely. All right, folks. So I'll share my screen. Let's quickly go through the uh, what has happened in Flutter Engage and what do we have. So I will remove you, Vi and Martina. Thank you for joining us in the beginning. They're gonna be with us, but in the comment in the chat. All right. So let's get started. Sorry, 1 second. I lost my screen. Here we go. Yeah. So what has happened in Flutter Engage? Flutter 2 was announced with a lot of cool and new things that was pushed to stable version and a lot of cool news which was not announced previously. So let's go quickly through that for about maybe 15 minutes. If you have not watched Flutter Engage, don't worry. So you get the most important things that they announced right now. So before that, let me mention if you have any question from our guest, we're gonna have 6 GDEs, my amazing friends, and we're gonna have Chris Sells, product owner of Flutter. Prepare your question, please, and add them to the comments. So we will pick them. We will ask them. We promise that you will get all of your answer today from all of these experts. So let's get started. Flutter 2. So it was already mentioned that Flutter was built to for you to create beautiful apps, and it was pretty fast to work with Flutter, especially the development, let's say, process. It makes you very productive because of the tooling and a lot of things that they provide, and it's also open source. But another thing that this time in Flutter 2 was mentioned, Flutter Engage, was a new word, portable. And that's due to the fact that Flutter now is porting your application with one single code base to several different applications, including those devices that are getting quite common these days, like foldable devices. We're going to get to that right now. So now you have this chance to go through all of these platforms, build your application, and compile to all of them. And they are all on stable version. Let's get into that. The first example was mentioned, one of the good examples from cross compiling one application with Flutter to different platform was Flutter Folio. So I added the link to the GitHub so you can later access to my slides and go to all of these links and read more about all of these features. So, and then after that, it was announced that internally Google is using Flutter quite a lot, especially for some of the most popular apps, including Google Pay, Stadia, and Google Ads. So these are the things that Flutter internally is doing, and they are very proud of that. We are also proud. Another thing that was mentioned, and it's worth to uh, let's say, repeat that once more, is supporting Flutter for foldable devices, which is getting quite common these days. And we've heard that Microsoft contributed to Flutter quite heavily for supporting these foldable devices, especially for Microsoft Surface 2, one of their products. So I added the link to the article that Microsoft published, how you can get started with that and how it works. And in fact, they are contributing to several widgets, and they are also adding several widgets to help you to manage your application on foldable devices, decide which screen you want to show what. And that is one of the examples that I added here. So a big announcement for Flutter Web was finally Flutter Web from beta was moved to stable branch, and it is stable right now. So you can read more about this in details, what has happened, but I added a link in my slides. But in general, right now, a big performance improvement for both desktop and mobile for Flutter Web was one of the most important consideration of this announcement. And there was one example, which a company called iRobot, which is behind some of these smart vacuum cleaners, they, for education purposes, they have a website which they can code, especially for children, and code their robot. So they built everything for web with Flutter Web. There was a couple of new announcements for Flutter for sure. Like Manifest was now finally added out of the box, which makes your application or PWA application, progressive web app with Flutter, installable on at least those platforms that are supporting that. And several bug fixes and problem fixes for plugins and widgets, which was not very web friendly, but now they are friendly. And maybe one of my favorite is the custom URL strategies that now you can go through and do. Previously, you had only hash strategy. So another announcement, and a big announcement, was moving Flutter 2 to Flutter desktop versions to a stable version. Although it's stable, but not really stable because it has like a release flag. So, but that was a big news for many desktop application developers, because now we know Flutter is going to speed up fixing many things on a stable branch for all of these platforms, desktop platforms. And of course, one of the biggest among that news for desktop was supporting or a big investment from Canonical on Flutter. So now we've seen that the company that is providing or publishing Ubuntu, they are supporting that. They're gonna invest and try to create their desktop application, the installer application with Flutter. And they also mentioned that Flutter is going to be the first citizen, let's say, way of building desktop application for Linux on Ubuntu. And that was a very, very good news for Flutter developer. And in fact, Flutter embedded version was already there. There was already some attempts we've seen from BMW or other companies that they've been doing Flutter Web for a while. Flutter embedded on their devices for a while. But one of the big things that we've seen in Flutter Engage, in fact, was announcing the collaboration between Flutter and Toyota. So Toyota is going to use Flutter, and soon, probably in Toyota's car, we'll see Flutter is running. So, and I think someone from community also mentioned that soon we'll see that Flutter is going to be on your refrigerator, somewhere in your kitchen. So you don't be surprised if you see that. So, and it's a very, very good opportunity for Flutter developers because it opens up a lot of new jobs and way of developing application. And as they said, the secret sauce behind Flutter is Dart. And Dart 2.12 was also announced with a lot of good things that we've been waiting for a while. And they've been talking about it. For instance, null safety or sound null safety or Dart FFI. And in fact, now Dart 2.12 is coming with all of these features unstable. So now you can go ahead and simply deploy your application with this version to production. Dart DevTools was one of the points that they mentioned in Flutter Engage. Dart DevTools got a lot of attention. A lot of cool things has happened. They integrated Dart DevTools part of that with your IDEs like Android Studio, Visual Studio Code, and IntelliJ, let's say. And this was a very important things for developers because, imagine that you are developing an application and you don't have a good tools to debug your application. As a developer, the majority of your time you're spending on debugging and, fixing bugs and, getting things to work. So having a good tools to help you to debug your application more efficient and more effective, that is absolutely a necessity. So I also added a link to a YouTube video which I made for Flutter Engage regarding Dart DevTools as a community speaker. So you can go ahead and watch that and see what was new and how you can use that. For a lot of developers, releasing Google Mobile Ads SDK was very exciting, especially for those who are going to make money from their app with Google Ads. So this was a very big, important announcement. There is a link for the details, and I added to the slide so you can go and read how you can use that. But the most exciting part of it was now with the new SDK that they announced, you're able to use the ads in a different way in your application, which was not possible previously. And that was a good news for many developers. So you can go ahead and test it out. It's already out, but I think it's beta. But anyway, it's out and you can test it out. So in general, let's take some moment and talk about all of the cool and new things that was announced in Flutter Engage one more time. So please go ahead and write your questions, anything that you want to know about all of these features, or you want us to ask from Chris or from our GDs afterwards. In our roundtable at the end of this session, we're gonna actually talk about many of these features in depth with some of our GDs, and we're gonna ask them like how they like that or what do they expect next and things like that. So it's nice if you have any question or if anything you want to know, just ask us in the comment, please. So sound null safety in Dart was a big thing. It was announced for a while. It's been there, a lot of articles and announcement around that for sure. One of the biggest milestones for Dart language and of course for Flutter developers. Take a moment, go, and if you don't know what it is yet, if you have not upgraded your tools, please read about it, watch the videos, see how you can do that. But the good thing is that you definitely have tools to help you to migrate your application, and Dart comes with the tools to help you to migrate. And also, I think I added in the next slide. Let me quickly check. Yeah, here you go. There was one more announcement for many of us who wants to convert our application or migrate our application to newer version, and we are worried about the depreciation and things that are already depreciated or removed, and you want to just migrate. So now there is a new command line so that you can go and use that and see how Flutter automatically can fix that for you without you being too much worried about it. All right, and let's take another step and talk about contributing of Microsoft to Flutter. Uh, it was very, very interesting to see that one of the biggest player of tech, the giant techs, they are also support, or they are thinking to support Flutter. For sure, they're talking about they're thinking about their product as well, but it's a great opportunity for Flutter developer to take this and maybe go into the next step as well. So big players like Ubuntu or Canonical, so that they are supporting right now Flutter, or they accepting Flutter like as a first citizen on their platform. It's a big deal for many developers, and of course for Flutter and Flutter community. Big app. So many of developers usually ask like, okay, so then you say that Flutter is cool, but then how cool is that? So who is using that? But they also mentioned that quite a lot, that uh, so big applications with Flutter is built. Sorry, big application in Google is built by Flutter itself. So that's a good thing, and good to see. Uh, Flutter mobile ads, as we mentioned, Toyota, as we mentioned. And what I forgot to mention, and I added to this slide, is support for Firebase. A lot of Flutter developers, and in Flutter and Dart community, Flutter Firebase is pretty popular. So seeing that Firebase plugins also upgraded, and now they are supporting multiple platforms, and they are supporting null safety, was a very good thing and a great effort from the team. Congrats to that team. And finally, at the same day, Flutter 2 was accessible. You could have just go to a stable version, and you could just simply upgrade your Flutter and get the latest version and play with that. You still can do that. If you're not confident, maybe you should use some of the there is a package management for Flutter FVM, so you can maybe use and download that and play with the new version and see if you're confident to upgrade or migrate your application. But definitely it's worth it, and take some time and try to migrate your application. So we talked about Flutter Fix or Dart Fix as well. Thank you very much. I'm gonna actually go back to our studio and see one question for you, Sumit. Let me just remove my slide for a while.
There have been few questions. Majid. Yeah, tell me.
Yes. You probably have seen Flutter Engage, or now you know what has announced. I know that you're also doing a lot of stuff with Flutter. What was your favorite thing with Flutter Engage?
I think there have been few things. Definitely a web. It took a long time for them to come in. And I think it's kind of a discussion now where I'm thinking this could be because of the performance. They want to make it a bit more performant and make sure that people are happy to use it. I like the Dart tools. I think there was an amazing video from the team on how and what they have improved on the Dart tools. So it's interesting. I saw one of your slide that actually showed all the platforms it supports, and it almost looks like we cannot fit in all those logos in one slide. Yes, like it has
Yes.
iOS, Android, yeah, web, and Ubuntu, and it's like wow, and those were nice surprise that I found in the 2.0 release because no one was talking about it, and suddenly it says we support these many platforms. It's like wow, that
Yes.
was pretty amazing. Uh,
Yes.
I think I would like you to expand a bit more on the mobile ads SDK because this was something which I always wanted to use. Most of my apps are small and kind of a play apps. So how do you monetize it? I used to be an iOS Android developer and I used to jump back to Google, mobile ads. So I think if I saw it, it was a sneak peek. I didn't go through the entire video yet, how to
Mm.
use it. I'm also thinking to maybe create a workshop on that so that people can start
Yeah.
using it. But yeah, what's your talk? What's your talk on that? Uh,
Uh, I will keep this question for Chris because he's with us right now. Let's welcome him on stage. Hello, Chris. Welcome. It's nice to see
Hi,
you
how are you?
again.
Nice
Very
to see
good.
you.
Hello,
How is
Chris.
it going, Chris?
It's going well. It's a lovely day here in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, nice. Very nice. So, Chris, we've got a lot of questions in the comments. And the first question actually came from Summit, one of our organizers. He's asking about the SDK for mobile ads. So maybe you can repeat your question for Chris Summit.
Sure. I think there was a need for this to come in, and as I said, I didn't completely go to the video that was announced. So why and why late, and also what does it do then? This mobile SDK for our yeah developers out there.
Yeah, so we had some preliminary support for banner ads uh, in a way that uh, allowed you to access the ads network, but didn't allow you to integrate completely with your Flutter app. If you wanted to, stick ads in scrolling lists or things like that. And so we've actually been working with the ads team itself for the last year or more to bring this new functionality to the ads plugin. And in fact, we're deprecating the previous one, and this is a whole new implementation in concert with the Google Ads team. The one we had built was a good start, but this new one relies on the new support for platform views, and a lot of the work for platform views was all about supporting ads because ads has a very heavy need to avoid fraud. And so we wanted to make sure that when we were adding these features, that it didn't allow folks to, do fake clicks and, inflate their ad revenue. Um, and so that's why it's taken this long. It turns out to be hard to do, frankly. And so now we have that for both Android and iOS. It's an open beta. People can and put it in their own apps and try it out. And obviously we'll continue to work to making this stable quality. On the back end, we did a lot of testing with early customers to make sure we didn't see any kind of fraud or problems there. So we continue to work closely with the Google Ads team to make sure this is a fantastic ad solution for Flutter apps.
Awesome. I didn't knew that you guys are deprecating the previous one, so it was a good conversation input from you that, okay, if someone is using the previous one, that's been deprecated.
That's right,
Awesome.
and
Yep.
they should move to the new one.
Yep.
Not only will they get a better, cleaner API, they'll get more functionality. It's just a win-win. They should absolutely move to the new one.
Very nice. Chris, I've got a question for you. So Flutter Engage announced it in Flutter Engage, it was announced uh, so many things was announced. So let me ask you one question first. which of those announcements was your favorite? If you want to pick.
Gosh, I hate to pick favorites. Um, I work a lot with the desktop team, so it was great to be able to bring that set of 3 desktop platforms from alpha to beta, and of course we've got more to come. I was heavily involved with bringing dev tools to production quality. Not only is it something that we're very proud of in terms of all kinds of wonderful tools for tracking down and fixing problems in your Flutter app, but we've integrated it directly into Visual Studio Code and IntelliJ and Android Studio, as well as it's built in Flutter itself. So we build and in fact debug Flutter dev tools in Flutter DevTools, which is pretty fun. And then I'm also really a big fan of the new Flutter Fix feature, which combines the metadata in the Flutter SDK for moving more than, I think, 40 deprecated APIs forward automatically in your code, and the Dart Fix command line and the integration into the IDEs. I see that as a huge step forward for the Flutter SDK, because that enables us to continue to make changes to Flutter to make it a better and better, right? Always refactoring the API as we find better ways of doing things, while not actually breaking your code. As we get, we have more than 500,000 monthly active users when it comes to Flutter developers. We've got, gosh, who knows, tens of millions of lines of Flutter code, hundreds of millions of lines of Flutter code in the world. We don't want to break that. So it's this. Normally what happens with a framework of any maturity is, as it gets more and more popular, the existing developers with existing code bases get more and more anxious about any breaking changes, because even a small number of breaking changes spread across a large number of lines of code, brings trouble, right? And so the idea with Flutter Fix is we can, when we make those breaking changes, we can also register these fixes in our database, so that we can just automatically move that code forward for you. Now, this is the first version of that, so we haven't made all the changes for all of the deprecated APIs, but we've got the majority. And as we make new breaking changes, we plan on keeping that database up to date. So that you asked me for one, I couldn't pick just one, but there's a lot of stuff in the announcements that I'm particularly enamored with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just to add on to that, Chris, it's the developer experience. Most of the time when I'm using Flutter, what I like is the problem has been thought through by the team. So what you just said, Flutter Fix, it's amazing that instead of saying, okay, it's a developer problem to figure it out, you got multiple command lines where people can try it out, and then run fix to fix a large code base. So amazing work. And I really like, again, it comes from Google and the team, the Dart tools. It's just amazing to diagnose your apps using that Dart tools. And the power it has now in Flutter 2 release is just astounding.
Well, I appreciate that. We work hard to make that the case. So it's nice that some of it's working.
Yes, absolutely. Chris, we've got a question. I think I personally asked this question from you a couple of times, but you may want to answer it one more time. Would there be any support for tvOS with Flutter in the near future?
So that's something we hear about. We hear about Android TV. We hear about tvOS. We hear about the watch faces OSs. It turns out that we support out of the box 6 operating systems ourselves, which is a lot. as you might imagine. So we're pretty careful about adding new ones. The ones we picked are the ones with the largest user bases, and the ones even so we're partnering. We do obviously a lot of work with Canonical. We've started doing quite a bit of work with Microsoft on the foldable support. We rely on our partners to support the operating systems we've got today. And of course, the hard truth is there are so many places where you would like Flutter. I mean, look at the Toyota announcement, right? They have picked up Flutter and the core engine. They've built their own embedding API. They've made it work with automotive grade Linux, and they are pushing that forward for future versions of their screens on their cars. Can you imagine? That of course we support them in that effort, but this isn't work that the Flutter team is doing and ongoing. We expect a lot of people to pick up Flutter and to make it work with various other operating systems that are beyond our ability to support directly.
Absolutely. Another question for you. So, because people are asking, so I don't want to keep them waiting for us, is that maybe you know this well. When will Flutter support platform view on desktop platforms?
That's an excellent question. We have already done some prototyping, doing things for your viewers who aren't familiar with this. The idea of a platform view is, each one of the native operating systems that we integrate with has their own idea of UI widgets, UI components, and to integrate one of those into a Flutter app, you have to do something called a platform view. So platform views is how, as I mentioned, we make ad support work on iOS and Android. It's how we make Google Maps works. It's how we make WebView works, right? There are native components in each one of these platforms. And then we have to build platform view support to be able to host that inside of a Flutter app. Right now, we just have that for Android and iOS. We don't yet have it for desktops, but of course we want WebView in desktop. We want Google Maps in desktop. So we want to be able to support this, and we've already started prototyping on this. I can't give you a date. I'd like to be able to give you dates. I can't maybe. I'd hate to overpromise and underdeliver, but definitely it's on our roadmap, and we've had some encouraging progress already on that.
Very good news. Very good news.
Chris,
We've got. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, there's just another question around Dart FIFI, an interesting analogy or abbreviation for foreign function interface. So the question is, where can I find good tutorials on that? Or when should we use Dart FIFI?
One, I haven't heard it called Fifi before. If we didn't already have a mascot for Dart and Flutter, now I have in mind a little tiny yippy dog named Fifi that I would want to think about. So now I can't unhear that. I think I'll be calling it Fifi from now on. The idea with foreign function interfaces is that lots of these operating systems have C-based APIs or calls you can make into a C-based API. And so, for example, some of our plugins that we've moved to Windows, instead of using platform channels, which is a way to traverse between your Dart code and whatever native code you want, C or C++, in the case of Windows. We can actually avoid that transition and call directly into the underlying Win32 API. And in fact, Tim Sneath, who happens to be my manager, has a wonderful plugin called the Win32, which is built with Fifi and makes all kinds of calls to all kinds of the crazy different kinds of Win32 APIs. And so we have built some of our Windows implementations of the plugins on top of this. So I will recommend two places to go for tutorials. One, of course, is the Dart.dev. This is a pure Dart feature. We make use of it in Flutter, but this is definitely a Dart feature. So you should look there for tutorials and samples and things. And then I will point you at Tim's Win32 plugin. He has done he has taken this and just gone crazy. He has built all kinds of crazy apps using Dart FFI, and I every time I look at his repository, he's built some new cool fun samples. So I would recommend looking there. I think that would be a great tutorial, kind of programming by example using FFI in the real world. And we know that the majority of our developers are on Windows anyway, so you can run his samples and play with them and build your own kinds of things. And it's a wonderful place to go.
Yeah, it looks like some of our audiences are actually trying that out with various different languages also. Like I think someone says Rust. Yeah, not something
Well, the
I
interesting
follow.
thing about it is a lot of these languages have standardized on the C calling convention as a way to expose their APIs externally. So no matter what the language is, if it's something that exposes an API using the C calling convention, then you can call it with FFI. It doesn't have to actually be written in C or C++. Rust, for example, you just brought up. It has that ability. So anything that works there with that calling convention works with FFI.
Very good. Sumit, do you have any question, or I ask one more?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. We've got one question from our Pascal, famous Pascal, our GDE. What's the coolest devices you've seen Flutter running on?
So there have been, as I mentioned, right, we work with partners on embedded devices, and we have had folks reached out to us to run Flutter on various cool, fun things. Obviously, Toyota is the top of my list. There have been other things that are still in progress that I am not at liberty to discuss. But the one that has always attracted my attention the most is we have, as a side project, one of our own engineers on the Flutter team has done an experimental integration with Raspberry Pi. And I thought the combination of Flutter and Raspberry Pi, I've always wanted one of those smart mirrors, right? So I thought the combination of that would be fantastic for building, my own smart mirror. So that's the one I always think about. I wonder. So yeah, that's the one. But obviously Toyota. And just to be clear here, I have volunteered my garage as a way to extend the device lab for running Flutter on Toyota devices whenever they're ready for that. So we'll see if they take me up on my offer here.
It always starts from a garage. I know.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So the idea of having a smart mirror actually is amazing. But do you have any advice if someone wants to start like with Flutter and Raspberry Pi or embedded devices, like how or where they should start? So any advice on that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. This embedded devices thing is not casual, right? I mean, essentially, if you've got, I mean, Raspberry Pis are cheap, and I think most of your listeners, if they don't have one, could pick one up easily.
Yeah.
And so definitely would recommend looking at the Flutter support for Raspberry Pi, although it is older, so probably will need to be brought forward. The core thing you need when you're doing this kind of work is you have to have a good idea of the native interface on whatever device you'd pick. And so, you would probably have to be an expert. If you wanted to new embedded device, you'd have to be probably an expert in that and writing native apps in that. And then you'd have to, pick up the Flutter engine source code and make that build and run. And so you'd have to develop some pretty deep expertise to make that happen. And then you have the embedded API, which is, an implementation on top of the embedded device that transitions your calls, right? Your input and output between your native hosting platform and the Flutter engine itself. It is not for the faint of heart. There's quite a bit of expertise required there. But the good news is every single one of our embedding APIs for all of our devices are all open source, and they're part of the Flutter repository. So there's a bunch of examples.
Right, very good. Actually, there is a question right now, which is also my question, but I'm not sure how much you can reveal about it. And that's about the number of developers who are using Flutter daily and weekly. So
Yeah, so I don't have the daily, weekly numbers on the top of my head, but we know that there's about 500,000 Flutter developers using Flutter every month. So we call them monthly active users. So 500,000 developers.
have you seen like a growth after Flutter 2? Because we've seen Team sent a picture with
We have actually seen it. The graph is kind of interesting. It was already going up pretty fast, and then boom, right? I mean, it's like now, of course, we always see these spikes at all of our events. The real number we'll be looking for is, as things plateau, right? What's the new normal? But yes, we have seen quite a jump since the Flutter 2 announcement.
Very interesting. Well, 500,000 to me, it's quite a lot of developers every month. It's
yeah, we're
well,
that number has grown even in the last 2 months or 12 months or however you want to look at it. We're kind of blown away by how fast that number is growing. And it's interesting too. The majority of those developers are mobile developers, but as we add stable support for web, beta support for desktop, now we're accessing whole new categories of developers. And we're hoping that just as many Windows and web developers pick up Flutter as Android and iOS developers already have.
yes, absolutely. Like if we estimate, well, I think Dominic already said that. So if you're estimating around 20 to 30 million developers, then around 500 is an amazing number. This is very, very good
We're, like I
number.
say, we're continuously amazed. That is a large number. Now, it is when you think about 20 to 30 million professional developers, and that's roughly within an order of magnitude of what we think of as well. 500,000 Flutter developers doesn't just include professional developers, right? It also includes students and
Absolutely.
hobbyists and all kinds of folks. But still, we're pretty pleased with that number, and we're very pleased and actually amazed at the growth we continue to see.
Absolutely. So, Samit, do you have any question, or I shoot one more?
One more, I feel like a bit more Firebase. The love the Firebase is getting. So I know there's a lot of projects who try to use the power of Firebase because you can easily get to that isn't beautiful SDK. And I saw that in one of your slides. You mentioned there was a small update on that. So I think there is a learning curve / a starting curve with including Firebase with Flutter. It's kind of sometimes a bit painful to get started. So what was the update in the Flutter 2.0 release with Firebase?
Sure. So we have been working with a vendor, Invertase, who has a great deal of expertise in Firebase. They've been working with it for years and years, and a lot of enthusiasm for Flutter. So in the last half of 2020, We worked with them to bring the top half of our plugins for Firebase, the top 7, uh, by usage and popularity, to production quality. We had some initial experiments in that direction, and some proof of concepts, and some various quality levels, alpha, beta. But we worked with them to bring the number one most popular to 1.0 production quality, where we actually recommend that you use it in production applications. And that's not just the code itself. It's support for null safety, and it's a set of docs and example code. And for some of the trickier ones, like messaging, where there's a lot of interaction between messaging when my app is in the foreground, messaging when the app is in the background, messaging when my app isn't even running. How do we make all that work? They've done an extensive set of documentation and example code to help you do that in a way that works with both Android and iOS. We've also got a number of those SDKs working on the web, and a number of them working on Mac OS as well. So there's a lot of work that they've done, actually in a very short time, to bring those plugins up to production quality. And we continue to work more closely with the Firebase team on tighter integration, and you'll see new samples that we'll do together, and in announcements and things like that. And turns out that a significant percentage of Flutter developers use Firebase. So we know that, in fact, this group is the number one most used set of plugins we have on Flutter. So yeah, we're pleased to be able to bring it to the next level of quality for our customers.
Really promising.
You're muted.
There is no event, virtual event, which someone says you're muted.
Oh, believe me, I'm in video conferences with Googlers all day, every day, and I can't count the number of times during a day. Yeah.
All right. Well, I may ask one more question, and then I know that you already have some stuff to do, and we booked you for 30 minutes for sure. One or maybe two more questions, very short one. That's a very good question. Someone asked about Dart. Well, uh, it's it's about the Dart language itself. Like, what do you have any idea of, like, where the Dart position is among the other languages, or maybe the most favorite or popular one? And someone asked that if they can use Dart for any other development except Flutter development. So,
Sure.
any advice, anything?
So we find that most Dart developers today are also Flutter developers, and that makes sense. We've worked closely with the Dart team. In fact, we're just one team, right? The Dart and Flutter team is one team, and we work closely with that part of our team to make sure that we continue to optimize Dart for Flutter. We've already done a ton of optimizations to make Dart great for client-side development and for Flutter development specifically. That said, Dart is a great general-purpose language in general. I find myself, if I want to write a command line utility, I write it in Dart, and it turns out there's a great package for command line argument processing, and it's a wonderful way to do that kind of work. And because it supports native compilation, you could actually take your Dart code, compile it, and target it at Windows or Mac or Linux, and ship it as a binary, just like any other a command line utility. And the fact that it happens to be written in Dart doesn't have to be something you share with anyone, right? It could just be something you do. We also see people use Dart on the server side, and there are some server side, in fact, a number of server side frameworks for building server side apps with Dart. I myself would happily write server-side apps in Dart. Dart is a wonderful language for all kinds of things. So in terms of where we see Dart going in the future, Dart is general purpose, and it's really, if the community thinks it's important to do Dart in other places, they can use Dart in other places, and it's a matter of where we see people using the language and support, meeting them where they are and supporting those popular uses.
Very nice. Chris, thank you very much once more to be our guest or special guest in Nordic countries. And thanks one more time. And we really appreciate having you today.
It
Yes,
was
Chris.
definitely my pleasure. Absolutely.
Very informative, Chris. I think we should do this more often.
Absolutely. So have a fantastic day, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye.
Bye. All right. So let's see if people on the chat are ready on YouTube are ready for winning a dash. If anyone wants to win a dash in comment, let us know right now. We want to run a fun game. So if you are saying anything in the comment and we see you are excited, we will run it. Otherwise, we move on. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to run it anyway. So let's see if I can share my screen.
Yes, there is so much excitement there. Everyone is saying, yes, we want it. Who doesn't? I want a home for a dash. Okay.
All right. So here is where I'm going to share my screen right now. It's going to be this one. Here we go. So you see the number. Go to kahoot.it. So, and add this pin code, please. It's only 10 questions, maybe around 5 minutes. So it's going to be a quick one. So just join and try to see if you can win a dash. The first place will get a dash, and we're going to send it to that. Oh, Dominic is also no dash. Come on, GDs. Pascal is here. All right. Good. I think we can probably start. Let's wait a bit more. For those who don't know where to
I think we need to share that. Yeah. Can you share that one more time?
I just added to the chat. So feel free to just join this link, add the pin code. All right. Let's wait 30 seconds more and we're gonna okay, we're gonna start in 10 seconds. Let's start. First question. Be ready. Flutter is built using widgets, XML layouts, JavaScript objects, syntactic sugars. Yes, all the answers are coming. Exciting. So time's up.
Any clues?
Widgets. And everyone answered correctly. Fantastic. Let's go to the next one. Pascal, for sure. Let's move on. The two main types of widget in Flutter. Scaffold container, my map material app, main and secondary, stateful, stateless. What could be the answer? Yes, here you go. Very nice. Let's move on. Whoa, Flutter fly. I think it's Daniele. All right, so the next question comes. Set state is used to repaint a stateless widget. All right, fantastic. Let's move on. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
that
impressive.
question took everyone by surprise. Yeah.
Yes. What property should I add to the center, the children of a column widget? What could be? Main axis alignment, center, space evenly, max, min. It's gonna be easy one. Of course. Very nice, everyone. Let's move on. Let's see who is the winner right now. Wow, fantastic.
Good job,
Let's
Ravinder.
move on. Good job. Good job. Does this disable the raise button? Look at this code and see if it's correct or not. True or false? Whoa. Well, all the answers are coming. Fantastic. 19. Here we go. 16 correct. Yes, that was correct. Let's move on to the next one. Stateless widget immutable. True, false. What could be? Sumit, true?
That is
False?
Chinese for me. It's like stateless, immutable. What are you talking about?
All right. Yes, everyone answered correctly. Very nice. Let's see who is the. Yes, very nice. Impressive. And let's have the 7th question. Where do you define the location of your assets? PubSpec, .lock, YAML file, npm.js, wall, .metadata. That's gonna be an easy one, for sure.
It's a good question after
Thank
this.
you.
Is with the web support, do you think we should support npm also later one day?
Maybe. Very good. Let's move on to the 8th question. Will this code produce an error? True, false? Will it? The text widget is getting a null variable or input. So will this return an error? True. And that's
People
very
will
good.
be, people will be trying the .pad now. So yeah, a quick way to test that out.
Yes. All right. So this is the reference of a widget in the source tree. Build context, widget context, build file, build reference. Gonna be not that hard, probably, if you have worked with Flutter for a while. And fantastic. Most of the people answered correctly. And get ready for the last question. Will this produce an error? And that's one which is
This one would
getting
be tricky for a
converted.
lot of people. Yeah. A good
Well,
one,
we'll see. Very nice. Most of the people answered correctly. Yes, that's false because that's going to be on a stream. And the winner is, drumroll, Wim. That's number 3. 2 plus. And number 1, winner for Dash.
Spotlight. Balwinder. Well
Very
done,
nice.
Balwinder.
Balwinder, please reach out to us. I will contact you directly also. But reach out to us, to me or Summit, maybe on Twitter, and we will send you a Dash. Yes, you won. All right, very good. Let's now invite our amazing GDEs to the stream. So we have a great lineup of GDEs and expert in Flutters. Let me introduce one by one. Hello, Thomas. Here you are.
Hey.
Daniele. Hello. Pascal. Hello. Evgeny.
Hi.
Where's your guitar?
Yeah, where's your
And
oh, there it
Dominic.
is.
Hi there. Hi.
Hey, guys.
Good to see you all.
And good to see you. And Katarina.
Hey.
Hello. Very nice to see you again, once more in the screen, on the stage together. Actually, I have a privilege to say that in Nordic Flutter Extended, we have the most expert and GDEs on the screen. So none of the others has that. I can tell that, Evgeny. I know you're doing something.
GDE overflow. GDE overflow.
Very nice to see you. So let's introduce yourself, please. Let's start from Thomas. And for those who don't or doesn't know you, so let's introduce ourselves first. Please, Thomas.
Yeah, okay. I'm Thomas. I'm GDE and for Flutter and Dart, and I'm living in Bonn in Germany. I often say I'm sort of a legacy system in the Flutter community because I guess I'm one of the older community members. And I think most people will know some of my packages. I did Gedit and Flutter Command, and I'm quite active on Twitter, where you can always find me and also ask questions. Yeah, that's me.
Very nice. Thank you, Thomas, for accepting my invitation. Evgeny.
Hello. As you may guess, I'm a GDE, and I'm a GDE for Dart Web and Flutter. And my company, we started using Dart way before Flutter in 2012, 13, I don't remember. Right now, we're actually running the biggest web application built in Dart. In Dart, not in Flutter, and in Angular Dart. So I'm a little bit disappointed in Flutter Engage because of the Flutter Web, but we will talk about it later. And also organize various events, mostly in Russian, but sometimes in English. That's it. Also, I play guitar.
Thank you.
A little bit.
Yes, thank you very much, Evgeny. So, Pascal.
I'm Pascal from Germany, in Cologne here. I just checked my Google Maps, and the most north I've ever been was Hamburg, so not that far north. I have to improve that in the future. You might know me from packages like the lint package or KTDart, and I'm currently building the Wiredash SDK. So if you care about your user feedback, use Wiredash.
Well, yes.
And you managed to cut your hair, I see.
Actually, today, yes.
I still have my appointment 2 weeks away, so.
Yes. So thank you, Pascal, for accepting our invitation. Dominic.
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. So I'm a bit bright in the screen, so let me just decrease the brightness. Hi, everybody. I'm Dominic. And as you may guess, I'm also a GDE. I'm from Poland, working currently at Very Good Ventures. And I'm really glad to be here. Thanks, Majid, for invitation. Congratulations to the winners of the Kahoot competition, Kahoot quiz.
Yes.
So I'm happy to talk today about Flutter and all the stuff related to that.
Very nice. Thank you, Dominic, for accepting our invitation. Katerina.
I'm Katerina. I'm Flutter GDE. So I'm GDE in Flutter and Dart, and I use Flutter. I think since alpha or like beginning of beta, and I'm running my own company for Flutter consultancy, and also work on my own Flutter apps.
Very nice. Thank you, Katerina, for accepting our invitation. And Daniele.
Hi, everyone. I am not a GE, so I think I may be unique on the stage, but I am the co-organizer of a group called Flutteristas, which is a group for female and non-binary Flutter enthusiasts. And so I definitely am around a lot because of that, but I just haven't earned a GDE yet. We'll get there, I'm sure. And yeah, I've been doing Flutter now for 2 years, and you know, I think I'm preaching to the choir here, but I absolutely love it. So
nice to have you here, Daniela. In our eyes, you are a GD. It doesn't matter whether you have the title or not.
Well, thank you.
Anyway, so let's talk about Flutter Engage and Flutter 2. Folks, first question, and then I need to also ask Thomas to share us some cool stuff afterwards. But the first question, maybe a very hard one. So what was your favorite from Flutter 2 or Flutter Engage? Go ahead. Go ahead, Daniela.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say it wasn't a surprise because I think all of us had seen previous stuff of it, but I think the null safety is, and the way that Flutter's gone about doing it is really amazing. And I think that's going to be a real game changer coming from, programming Android and, way back in the day, programming C stuff. I mean, getting rid of the null pointer exception is a huge deal. So like I said, maybe not the biggest surprise because they've been talking about it in beta and stuff, but now that that's stable, I think that's going to be a huge game changer.
Very nice. Anyone else?
Yeah, for me, definitely it was the announcement of Toyota. This because it just gave much more confidence that we will have a long future with Flutter. And because looking at the infamous history of Google on discontinuing products, this was really a news that I thought, yes, this feels good, sounds really good. And otherwise, sure, it's amazing. For me, it's really, really amazing that we have desktop now on stable, because and I've seen several projects already that use Flutter for desktop apps, and I think this is a whole new community that we get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bringing Flutter to stable on desktop is something that I also really waited for, and I'm really glad that finally Flutter for desktop reached this common awareness, that people are able to use it on stable. They don't have to switch to dev, which was sometimes painful, and you had to keep track of the version that you've used and so on. And finally, with stable, you can just use 2.0 and just use the same version for a couple of months and don't worry about it.
Completely agree on Flutter for web and desktop on stable. For me, it was also a very important announcement because I have actually a mobile application and I have a basic web version and it was built using Polymer, and I stopped development because I was waiting for Flutter for web stable and that I could have the same application. Different desktop and web and just the same code base. I think it's really amazing.
if we're talking about Flutter for Web, and I see someone in chat, Dominic, how can you be here and in chat at the same time? It is really difficult. And Martin, things about Flutter for Web and WebDart and Web in general. Because I'm Russian, I should add some pinch of salt to the Flutter Engage. So right now, web support, and I would like to know your opinion, guys. We're in this strange position because web is super competitive. Like we have React, Vue 3, Angular 2, Svelte, whatever. So many frameworks. And we have kind of like a gold standard for web frameworks. I mean, they should SSR, accessibility, some fast rendering, you name it, a lot of things. And Flutter for Web isn't there. And I don't think that it's competing with big frameworks in web. So it means Flutter for Web is in kind of strange position. So you can create applications, some applications, but for me it looks like it's a bit second target option, not the main target option. And for example, if you guys there have examples of some big applications SPA written in Flutter for Web, it would be really nice to share.
So I agree with you, Evgeny, and I think that Flutter for Web is not like going to replace any of the frameworks. But one use case that I see that can be really viable and useful for us as developers is to have ability to showcase a UI layer of our application to the client, or maybe as a portfolio. So it's often that you have to like go back and forth with like screenshots, or even worse, with APKs between you and your client or designers, just to make sure that what they wanted is there in the app. Of course, like with Zooms and Meets and all the other tools, it's much easier right now, but it used to be much harder to share even like a simple screenshot, and even more to share the UX flow. And I think that right now with this kind of approach, maybe also combined with something like device preview, this could be really handy way to have like a quick access to the UI layer, because usually you would have to mock your platform dependencies for web right now. So it would be more just like a mock-up, not a real functioning application.
Yep. Going back to Evgeny, I think you tried Dart too early, and then you tried a web app on top of it. So I think a lot of questions are around that, where that choice of taking Dart so early when it wasn't mature, and then people are saying, how did you even use it with Angular, which is a very big platform, one of the popular ones for web.
Funny story that we used Polymer at the beginning.
Same as Katrina then. Yeah.
So you're asking back then, back in the past, why did we? Yeah, actually, it was back in the days we had only like 10 developers or so, but application was written in JavaScript, and it was kind of painful. And back in the days, TypeScript was just the beginning, and I remember days when TypeScript and Dart were almost in the same position. So both were in beta or alpha, or I don't remember. And I don't know, Dart back in the days, it was not 2.0. I mean, not sound, not null safe, of course, but it was nice. So Dart is definitely a good language today.
Yeah, I think we do that kind of thing where a lot of people try to come and see. They're still in the JavaScript space, and they want to see what Dart is offering. And this is a very good success story where you're saying, okay, we tried Dart out. It's a good language to pick up. It's easy. Yeah, that's what I would say. But it has that thing. It's new. It is something which I haven't heard of. How many developers are out there who are using it? But looking at the community growing, it looks like a lot of people have started to take a dig into what Dart can offer. So this story is very good. I really haven't heard this before, where you tried it out very early and used it with Angular. So yeah, good.
last
stuff.
point to that, because for example, right now many people joining some web development world or just world of development, and I think Dart and Flutter ideal because many things come out of the box. And if you're joining web world today and you're kind of new to this thing, you can feel the pain. Okay, guys, I need something for streams, or something, or so many packages for this, for that. And Dart is a nice thing because everything kind of packed in a box.
I might want to add to the to the opinions of on Flutter Web. I agree that it won't probably replace any of the big, or is a re-competitor to the big frameworks, but there are also it has a big opportunity for people, for example, like me, who didn't do any web stuff all the time. Because I was too busy with other things and I never liked JavaScript. And now I will be able to write a web app, without having to deal with this. And I definitely, it won't be, or at least not in the near future, it won't be the choice for a website, but for a single-page web app that should, with a complex UI, it's a great choice, yeah. Like, for example, you have one of the best examples here, Rive, the Rive editor, for example.
Exactly. Pascal, you didn't say your favorite.
My favorite was actually, so the past week I was able to migrate 3 of my applications to Flutter 2. And the surprise is that everything worked and it was a smooth transition. So big props to the Flutter team and the communication with the package maintainers out there, that everything was already migrated, at least all the packages I used and I wrote. And this was a big surprise. And it was not announced, but it was a surprise and it should be mentioned.
Very nice. So after Flutter 2, so probably all of you have seen Tim's screenshot of the growth on using Flutter after announcement. And as we also talked right now with Chris, it's a very steep, sharp, growth. So that's very good for us as a community of Flutter, and we are welcoming every new developers for sure. And I can also tell right now, so if you need any help, we at least we are expert on this screen right now. We're happy to help. But my question to you, all of you, is that so now Flutter 2 came with a lot of things that we may know or may not, but how do you see the development of Flutter? Where do you see Flutter goes? So now the expectation, is very high, already after Flutter 2. So what do you see? How do you see the future?
I think it's growing exponentially. And as Chris already told earlier, currently the market is mostly focused on mobile developers. But for every mobile developer out there are 10 web developers. There are like 5 desktop developers. And all of them have not really touched the platform yet. And once they will see how cool it is and what they can accomplish in such a cool language and such a cool framework, they will come. So it will grow exponentially over the next years.
I think that if we do you remember Java's slogan back in the days, like write it once, debug everywhere, or something like this. So I think right now Flutter is in the really good position because there are a lot of end user devices with screens, cars, watches, I don't know, smartphones, anything. Fridge these days can have a screen. And a while ago, people thought that web should be something that will render user interfaces everywhere. Like you just need a browser and that's it. And we know smart TV and a lot other things. But browsers these days, they are not so controllable, I would say, because it is really hard to build a user interface in browser because so many things can go wrong. And Flutter is a really nice thing because environment is super controllable. You can control actually everything there, every pixel. So I think Flutter is in a good shape to be maybe main language / framework for end user devices. Everything that have a screen, I think that will run Flutter eventually.
I'm a bit more pessimistic when it comes to like the coverage where the Flutter will like be present, because like there's still many native developers, many React Native developers, and so on. And I think that maybe Flutter will like remain on this like second, first place when it comes to mobile frameworks. And what I worry, because what I would like to have is just a stable development, adding some fixes and basic features, but nothing like revolutionary, at least for next year, let's say. Because right now there are still some small issues with Flutter, like dig deep into the framework, like the iOS junk issue, or still missing support for some, like Chris mentioned before during the previous blog about platform views on desktop, which is also a very crucial thing, and some basic integration with the native platforms like pop-up windows, menu bars, and so on. And we know that Flutter Team is working on that. So I hope that this kind of features will just land on a stable branch within next year. Because as we all know, there are some surprises on the way always. And for instance, this was the case with the iOS junk issue. Like when it appeared like 7 months ago or 8 months ago, we were told that probably one small fix on the build pipeline would fix that. But then after like more and more investigation, it appeared that the underlying issue is so complex that it will take months to even improve this, not to mention to fix this. So I worry that there may be more challenges around desktop platform, or maybe some native features for the mobile. So I hope that all of these issues will be resolved in the nearest future. And after that, I will be much more optimistically looking forward, so that like Flutter will take more and more of the development horizon, let's say, development fields, like desktop platforms and web platforms for some specific cases. Yeah, like I mentioned before, maybe some other apps, like you mentioned, something similar to Rive, where you have like a fully fledged editor in browser, and you actually don't want to this kind of web specific features like SEO or accessibility.
Actually, I'm quite positive on this development, and I'm very much with Evgeny with this. We have finally a platform that is everywhere, and let me just show you a tweet that really made me wait, I think it's the it's an if you look at this, can you share my screen?
Yes. Here we go.
And this is what, if you don't know who Miguel de la Casa is, he was the founder of Xamarin and wrote the Mono on for the .NET framework from Linux. And when he says even this, I think this is a very strong signal on the role that Flutter will play.
Yes, there are a few things like that. So let me ask Katerina also to give her opinion. So then I'll say something. Katerina.
So I'm very optimistic about Flutter. Actually, because it. So even if I need to, for example, if I need to build a website with, for example, online shop, and I need to make it searchable, probably I won't use Flutter because of search engine optimization. But if I need to build application, I think for every platform, for every language, or for there are different use cases, and some of them are, for some of them Flutter is a perfect choice, and for some of them not. I think it's always good to evaluate technology before starting to something big.
Yes, that's a good point. So I would agree with all of you that hopefully Flutter 2 or Flutter will continue becoming more stable, let's say, and becoming a very reliable framework for development, rather just adding a lot of things on top of that. So I also agree with all of you, but I'm very optimistic. I'm not very pessimistic. So in this case. But talking about Flutter 2, so you try to, hopefully all of you have tried to upgrade to Flutter 2 or maybe give it a try. There was some bump, I guess, for some lucky people like Pascal, maybe no bump. But I've seen a lot of questions to myself, oh, we upgraded, nothing works, and blah, 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 blah. So what is your advice based on your experience right now if someone wants to upgrade? So
Patience. Yeah, so in my case, where I have apps that have like 1 year of development or a few months, it takes several hours to migrate, mostly because of the dependency issues. But sometimes when the dependency breaks just with migration to null safety, some additional implementation is needed, or like we had some issues with cookie storage, so we had to refactor this a bit, some authentication issues and so on. So usually it's not just bumping the dependencies version, because this in itself is a challenge, finding out which dependency is causing trouble. Of course, you can deduce a lot from the log output, but usually it's just like yak shaving. You fixed one dependency and now another one is being wrong. So this takes several hours just to go through this, and then you have to spend some time on some refactoring and migration, and then testing if it works or builds and so on. So of course, the more dependencies, the harder it gets. And like if you have app that was started with Flutter 1.12 or even before, then all of that like is stacked on top of each other. And so like be patient, like devote at least 1 day per app or even sometimes more, because it will just take time. It's possible. It's like just straightforward process. There's nothing like super challenging about it. It just takes time.
I've migrated to Flutter 2 as well. And actually, in my pub/spec YAML, I don't have a strict versioning, and I hope that Resolver will solve all my problems and picks up correct versions. And actually, the only issue I faced with Intel translation, and there is already issue on GitHub, and with some ways how to fix this problem. So basically, I needed to do dependency override and just to set up specific versioning for some packages.
As you already mentioned, creating issues is a big step in helping the whole ecosystem to make us upgrade our apps. When I started migrating, I'm always on the dev channel because I want to be on one of the first users. And this helps me a lot because I basically weekly upgrade, or at least once a month upgrade my application. And I very early on see if some dependencies fail or have conflicts with other dependencies. And what I always do is sometimes I fix them myself. Sometimes I just raise an issue in one of the GitHub repositories and ask the developer, hey, can you create a preview version for that dependency, or upgrade it, or increase the range of the dependency? And so it takes time. do it once a week, check if you can upgrade. If something breaks, raise an issue and wait. And the next week you try again and it will work.
Also, don't be afraid to fork a package that is where nothing is going forward. Either make a PR directly or just fork it to your repository, make there the changes and use it from there. Yeah. Actually, I think this is one of the great things about the Flutter package system, that it's no problem. You can just fork because it's always the source code. Yeah. And the only thing that really hit me was the change in the material buttons when in my apps, and because they if you're not used to the material stuff, they are not really intuitive to use when you encounter this and you say, hey, how do I set a background color? Yeah, and and honestly, I'm not that happy about it because I think. Or in my opinion, it would be more helpful if the API of the different widget families would stay closer together, so that when I want to port it to Cupertino, that I don't have to pass completely different parameters, for example. Yeah. So for being a cross-platform, I think at this point, I'm not sure if it's the right direction they are going.
Good. Very good advices. So then maybe the most important one, be patient and be active, send PRs. At least you can open issues, as Pascal says. And
also check the
Katarina,
pull request. Very often there is already an open pull request and you can just exchange the dependency with the one.
Also, what I highly recommend is watching the video from the Flutter Engage on porting a package to null on app to null safety by Leif Henderson, I think it's because what I took from there, I wasn't aware of this, that how good the migration tool is, that you can migrate an app piece by piece, and you can just you don't have to do it in one big step. Yeah. So this also the end to that you can add late annotations which are not supported by the tool directly. So this talk is really important, I think.
Very nice. Also, don't forget to use the tooling that Dart and Flutter Team is providing, Dart Fix or the tools for migrating your Nile safety and things like that. So they just help you to migrate much faster and with less hassle. Very nice advices, folks. And one last question: many developers reached out me, or they are sending me direct messages time to time, and they ask, how can we become an expert Flutter developer or professional Flutter developer? And I bet that people ask you this question a couple of times. So I give one advice or a couple of advice to our audiences right now. And for those who want to become more advanced and more professional on Flutter development, what should they do? What do you do?
Spend some time every week just to read, experiment, not just work, but just like try to come up with ideas, maybe just before ending your work on Friday or during the weekend, depending on how you approach whether your work is your hobby also or just the work. Then try to squeeze like an hour or 2 hours every week for learning something new, maybe trying some new widget, maybe trying some new approach.
And sharing that knowledge. That's very important.
Yeah.
My advice will be ask questions and why do I use this? Why do I need this widget? What it does? Because I see that sometimes people just copy paste from Stack Overflow or from some tutorials without thinking, and I think it's a wrong approach. People should be curious and go to documentation and see probably play around with different parameters of widget to try different options and understand why they're using some code, some part, and what advantages it brings, etc.
My advice would be, my advice would be, for example, if you don't have some needs or you don't use Flutter at work, and maybe you don't have ideas for, because the best thing to practice Flutter is to write in Flutter or to use it. And sometimes we don't have like great, brilliant ideas for pet project. And I think that best thing is to go there and ask your friends. Because, for example, right now I have one small pet project because a friend of mine told me, you're a developer, right? I need something. And by the way, it's not advertisement, but one friend of mine did on some application, it scrapes some public available wine rating lists. And it's kind of, you can go to near the shop and it will show what is the best wine in this shop. So yeah, so ideas floating everywhere. So if you don't personally have an idea what to build, just ask your friends or in Twitter. I think you will come up with the brilliant ideas for your pet project, and you will practice Flutter like on insane level.
Absolutely.
Also, I can only recommend reading Flutter source code. Because this is one of the things that I think that is also a lot of people underestimate this ability to hit F12 or Control click and be directly in the source code of the framework and see what's going on there. And it's really helpful. You can even set breakpoints there if, when you are debugging your app, and you can learn a lot of from them. And and the other thing, I think, if you like some package a lot and you want to add, you want some additional features, get in contact with the maintainers and contribute. It's one of the chances that you get experience and often get also sort of mentorship from maintainers if you are not so experienced in this.
Absolutely. Very good points, folks. Very good points. Thank you for sharing that. So we want to actually end our session. I think we had a very nice roundtable and we talked about Flutter 2 and all of our things that we are considering right now about it and in the future. So let's finish up our session with one amazing things that Thomas has been working on. And he's going to share right now. So you see how far we can get with Flutter. And then it's not planned, but I'm going to ask Evgeny after the last slide from Summit. He needs to play a goodbye song, not song, sorry, guitar. And we're going to end our session with that. Think about it, Evgeny. So here is, well, you have to explain what it is, Thomas.
Yeah, actually, this is a Flutter desktop app on Windows. And what you are seeing here is an OpenGL program, or actually a WebGL program, running inside a Flutter texture widget. And I'm currently working on a new plugin, the Flutter WebGL plugin, which will enable you to have the normal WebGL API that people know from the browser, and you can use that in Dart to write WebGL programs that then are displayed inside texture widgets that you in your app. And this is actually one of the amazing things in the Flutter engine, that you are able to provide some external image buffer to the framework, and it will be displayed. And that's the basis that allows me to do this. And the other great thing is that Google has I think it's the same. Platforms use the same technology. I'm pretty sure that's exactly the same way they would do it. The nice thing is that Google has another project that many people don't know about. It's called the Angel project. And Angel is actually a cross-platform implementation of OpenGL ES, which is the base for WebGL. So the Chrome browser, for example, uses Angel under the hood to implement WebGL. And now I'm using the Angel framework for the OpenGL stuff, so that I have OpenGL ES on Windows, on Linux, and on iOS especially, and macOS. There is an awesome fork of the Angel framework. It's called Metal Angle. And this implements the OpenGL ES on top of the Metal API. So we can stay with the same API over all platforms. The only thing that I don't know exactly is how it will how we will do it for Flutter Web. There I would need some help from somebody knowing more about the web stuff. If I can run this in release mode, probably. Why? Oh no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. No.
Yeah. I just realized that after a second that maybe it doesn't even matter if it's debug or release. Yeah, because it's like texture just passed from
exactly.
OpenGL.
What's in it currently a little bit there is even possibility to enhance performance in future, because currently it is that the OpenGL draws into a frame buffer, and then the frame buffer is copied over into the engine, and at least on Windows and Linux. On Android, probably we can do it a little bit different, and on iOS possibly too. But if the Flutter team would open up on Windows and access to their OpenGL context, then we could do this without any additional copying. This would be pretty cool. Yeah, that's it.
Very nice. This was very, very amazing. When I saw it, I was so impressed. So very well done, Thomas. And if anyone has any insight or wants to help Thomas, just reach out to him. So he's willing to accept some help from the community for sure.
Sure. Honestly, I'm currently fighting with the implementing on the Mac, and without the help of from Bit, the creator of BitDojo, I would have been frustrated today 2 times, because and he just pulled it on his machine, tried it, and could give me some hints where I could continue. So without a community, something like this is not possible.
Yes, thank you. Community matters. Thanks, everyone. So I would like to thank all of you, and we appreciate having you here in our community, talking with our community. Thank you very much. Please stay with us, and Summit will go through 1 or 2 slides, and then we're going to end the show with Evgeny. So, Summit, can you share?
Yes, I think I'm sharing. Again, what you just said, thank you so much, all the panelists and the speakers and the organizers. But I think the biggest thank is for everyone else to come together and create such a beautiful event. I like the summarization, so people who missed the entire Flutter Engage, we did a good summarization of what was announced. And I think other discussions was like, we could just not stop. We can just keep on going. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, GDG Copenhagen, Alpo, and every other GDG in Nordics for making this happen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for all of the organizers who are not right now here, but they helped a lot. All of these GDGs that you see on the screen and the meetups that they helped us to organize this event. And with that said, so let's bring back everyone and say, and Danielle is also again with us. So let's say goodbye and thanks again. And now we have Evgeny for
Thanks
us
putting
to
me-
play a music.
Yeah, thanks for putting me on the spot.
Go ahead.
Beautiful.